What's going on, Birdland? Stephen Heckman here for the Final Strike podcast. We are into episode 2 of season 4. Spring training is underway. Position players have started. It's baseball season, everybody. It's finally here. And we've got a lot going on. Not only have the Orioles just had a tremendous offseason, we recently signed Chris Bassett. We've traded for Jackson Conwar. I mean, good things are going on, and the Orioles look primed to actually have a pretty good season as long as health stays on our side. And speaking of health, of course, everybody's heard about Jackson Holliday. He had hamate bone removed from his right hand, though he's going to miss the start of opening day and the first few weeks of the regular season, though he should be all right. It's something that happens. He was taking batting practice, live batting practice against Dean Kramer. He was not hit by a pitch, which is the good thing. But the hamate bone is something that is frequently happens with hitters. Corbin Carroll's going through it right now as well as a few other players. Generally, it's right here in below the wrist. It's a hook bone. And a lot of batters, unfortunately, if you swing or twist your wrist the right way, it can fracture or break. And he did have it removed. He's already got the cast off. He is able to take some light fielding drills right now. He cannot swing a bat, though he will be doing that relatively soon. So not overly too much to be concerned about there. Rather have it happen early now than later on in the season. So we should see him back relatively soon. On top of that, Jordan Westberg is dealing with a mild oblique injury. It's happened roughly about 3-4 weeks ago, so he's progressed along with that. Usually, minor oblique injuries, roughly about 6-week recovery time frame, so he's going to miss a few exhibition games. He woke up one morning, felt some soreness, immediately reported it. They did some imaging, and it was a mild strain, so nothing overly concerning. He's going to miss a few exhibition games, and then he should be fine and ready to go. Good news about that is he should be able to fill in at second base at times. When he is not filling in at second base, though, we do have Blaze Alexander. We acquired Blaze Alexander from the Arizona Diamondbacks, ironically, the day before Jackson Holliday broke his hamate bone. So a little bit of foreshadowing there worked in our favor. So there you go. Never want to see anybody injured, but it's great we had a fallback option. Last year we would have had Mayo in that position, which Jorge Mateo obviously is no longer with us. Understandably, like the guy, good personality, just offensively was a deterrent to our team. If he got on base, it was great. It was just getting him on base was always the problem. Blaze Alexander is a multi-talented infielder, can play some corner outfield as well. We have him under team control for the next 4 years. So, great developmental player who is excited to be a part of the team. So looking forward to see what he can do with us. The big question marks right now is going to be Ryan Mountcastle and Cobe Mayo. What is going to happen with them? Because you have Pete Alonso penciled in at first base. They're not going to get a lot of opportunities. And, Samuel Basallo is also going to get some time at first base. So what's the deal? What's been happening in camp so far is Cobe Mayo has been taking third base reps. And since position players have reported, he hasn't taken any first base reps. So that's something to watch. There are rumors that the Orioles are still shopping Cobe Mayo and Ryan Mountcastle. Now, Cobe Mayo offers more upside than Ryan Mountcastle at this time just because of his age and how much team control he has. So there is upside to him, plus he can play first base, third base. He has some corner outfield experience as well. So anybody looking for a player of his caliber that they could develop might be more enticing to move him, but he should be more upside potential on what we get in return. At the same time, Ryan Mountcastle, he's still relatively young. I think people forget how young he really is. He's only 6 years into the major league part of his career. So he's still kind of entering that prime part of his career, and somebody might look at him as a veteran with upside that they can utilize. He does have an option for next year. He is under contract this year, and he does have an option for next year. So he could be a relatively cheap piece for somebody to pick up, possibly even move, possibly for cash considerations, international draft slot. I like the guy, don't get me wrong. I've always been a Ryan Mountcastle fan, but the last 3 years, unfortunately, he has spent more time injured than he has helping us play. Great defensive first baseman. His power numbers have unfortunately dwindled. Whether that has something to do with the left field wall or not, I don't know. But since he reached his high of 33 home runs, he's gone downhill in that category. So I don't know what aspect he's going to do for us in that area. His strikeout numbers are still high, but he does hit doubles quite frequently. So maybe that's what you're going to get from him, a guy who hits a lot of doubles. He went reverse. He started out hitting a lot of home runs and started making more contact, putting balls in play. Still going to get the strikeouts, though. Good defensive first baseman, good leader, and somebody who has a team that is young could find benefit in him. Somebody like the Cincinnati Reds, the Miami Marlins, players. Somebody wants to use him strictly as a DH. There is a possibility of that. He's not going to fetch a lot in return. Now, if you package him with some minor leaguers or even with somebody like Heston Kjerstad, there's a possibility. But outside of that, I don't see how he's going to benefit us right now as a role player. The at-bats at DH, unfortunately, are going to be split mostly between Samuel Basallo and Adley Rutschman, and you'll probably see Tyler O'Neill get some because the outfield right now looks like it's going to be Tyler Ward, Colton Cowser, Tyler O'Neill, and Dylan Beavers. Those are your front runners, although Heston Kjerstad is doing everything he can to put a crank in that. He's having an excellent start to the spring. He's changed his stance, and he's hitting the ball with some authority. His defense has never been quite strong. He is decent in the outfield department, but right now, I as much as I like Silent J, I don't know where he fits in with the team either. So, maybe a package of Kjerstad and Mountcastle can fetch us a decent reliever. I still think we need another bullpen arm. Even if you package Kjerstad and Mayo, you might get a stronger reliever. There's a lot of upside to both of them. Kjerstad's still young at age 27. He still does not have a lot of major league experience. So you have to look at that as an enticing possibility for a lot of teams who, Kjerstad is in another position like Kyle Stowers, loved Kyle Stowers, huge Kyle Stowers fan, and I really hated that we got rid of him. And he went to Miami, and now look, he had an all-star season last year. He's honestly being looked at as a replacement player for the U.S. in the WBC. So I don't know. You've got to strongly consider looking at the possibilities of how the Orioles have drafted, and then you see what Kyle Stowers has become since he went to the Miami Marlins and got regular playing time. So, those type of things teams will look at and consider when looking at players. So we'll have to see what happens. I like Heston Kjerstad very much. I was excited when we drafted him. I, had a lot of high hopes for him. Unfortunately, we just have a log jam right now of outfielders that there's just no place for him. And with Tyler O'Neill under contract for the next couple of years at $16 million, I don't see us getting rid of him unless somebody's willing to pick up his contract. But then you have Dylan Beavers. You have Enrique Bradfield Jr. Colton Cowser is going to be around here for a bit. Tyler Ward right now is here for at least a year. So what do you do? Barring an injury right now, there is really no room for Heston. And then you have Jeremiah Jackson, who learned the corner outfield spots pretty well last year, and his bat is pretty strong. So you've got to consider all options here on what we're going to do. And, it's never a bad thing to have depth. That's the one thing I've always said in baseball, and we learned that last season, especially with our pitching rotation. Depth is crucial. If you want to compete in baseball, you have to have depth. You have to have that next man up mentality, but you've got to be able to have the next man to fill in, and that's one of the things that you got to look at. So, and right now, having the depth is kind of a good thing and a bad thing at the same time, because you're going to have to get rid of some players. You're going to have to cut players. You're going to have to send some players down. Same thing with the pitching rotation. Right now, we have 2 rotations in camp. I mean, the way I look at it, the projected starting rotation is probably going to be Kyle Bradish, Trevor Rogers, Shane Baz, Chris Bassett, and Zach Eflin. That's probably the projected. And you could probably flip-flop Bassett, Baz, and Rogers. And the only reason I would do that is because you get Rogers, who's a lefty. So I would probably go Bradish, Bassett, Rogers, Baz, and Eflin. And that way you get 2 righties, a lefty, and then 2 righties. But with as good as Rogers was last year and as strong as Bradish is, I'd probably make them the 1-2 punch. Shane Baz, who has a lot of upside and has looked good so far in camp, would be number 3, Bassett number 4, and Zach Eflin, who has looked very strong in camp, number 5. Your second round of rotation would then be Tyler Wells, Dean Kramer, Albert Suarez, Cade Povich, and Brandon Young. So, and that's a pretty decent backup rotation. So you have options. And then worst case scenario, you still have Chase McDermott, who's going to be in a bullpen position. So you have options. And then you have Trey Gibson, who's in camp. You have Jose De Leon. You've got a strong depth right now that we did not have before last season. Last year, we had about 7-8 starters or people that could be starters, and we lost 3 of them before the season even started, which then put us into a panic and emergency situation. This year, we are prepared with that depth. There is a possibility that Brandon Young and Cade Povich do start the season down in the minors because they do have options and they can develop more as starters. But there's also a possibility they can pitch out of the bullpen. The same aspect, you have Cano, who actually has looked better than he did coming into the 2023 season, which would be great if we could get him back to his form. His slider has actually been cutting tremendously. He's pounding the zone. His pitches are moving in and out the way they used to. So he's not flat like he was last season, where his splitter and his curveball, or his splitter and his changeup, were actually coming in at the same angle, were coming in at the same speed, and you could not differentiate between the two. He's back to the Cano that we saw in 2023 and 2024 when he was an all-star. And that would be a huge boost to our bullpen, because if we can get Cano back on track, that's a strong benefit to our bullpen. We still have yet to see Andrew Kitteridge pitch live batting practice so far. So the return of him is going to be a big benefit as well. Nothing wrong with that. Looking forward to him getting out there. We haven't had Chris Bassett pitch his live bullpen session yet. He has done his side bullpen, but his live batting practice. He has done his bullpen session. So we're waiting to see him get out there and pitch. Basically, we're still waiting to see what the bullpen layout is going to be and who's going to be competing for spots. We just know a few people who have actually pitched. We'll see a little bit more probably as spring training games unwind. The first game is this Friday against the New York Yankees. So we'll see a little bit more of that, and we'll be able to understand where we're going, how things are going to line up, and everything in that competition. Alvarez is not ready to name a starter for that yet either. Whether he's playing his cards close to his vest, that's fine. He's also willing to let his starters face AL East opponents, which I have no problem with that. I've never had a problem with that. I think it's great that you actually put your pitchers out there. They're going to see these players and teams anyway, so why not? They've got film on these guys, so what's the difference? Let them play them. Who cares? it's spring training. This is where you want to play and learn and get yourself situated and ready to play the regular season. So you're going to play your division the most. Might as well play against the guys you're going to play against. Side note on everything, Tony Clark is resigning as the MLBPA executive director. Reason I bring that up is because this is the year that the CBA does expire, December 1st of this year. Negotiations have not started, which is kind of crucial, especially with all that is going to come up. The reason that's kind of a concern is because Tony Clark has been involved in the last few CBAs. This is a crucial CBA, especially going into the 2027 season, because there are rumors that the owners will lock out the players. Once again, I emphasize rumors. There's no guarantee that they will, but there are rumors that they will. Tony Clark resigning, the reason it's so awkward is it is in the middle of the Eastern District of New York is investigating the MLB for misappropriation of funds, and he resigns. It doesn't look good on the MLBPA. Now, it's also come out that the reason he's resigning is because he had an inappropriate relationship with his sister-in-law, which the union hired back in 2023. So whether any of those misappropriation of funds is in relation to that, I don't know. But when you have one of your stronger negotiators resigning the same season that your CBA is actually going to expire, that's a concern. It's a giant shit show is what it looks like. And the owners will use that at the negotiating table, because if you have a misappropriation of funds, the owners are going to bring that up as to what are you not using the funds for? What are you lying about using the funds for? What have you been hiding? And it's going to just get uglier anyway, especially when talks of a salary floor and a salary ceiling have come up. You have gambling in baseball that is coming out more and more about Klaus and with the Cleveland Indians. Now it's come out that it was more than just a couple games that this happened. So those are two big things. Revenue sharing, especially with the regional TV packages that are coming out. Those are big things that are going to come up, and that's not even including all the minor things that are come up. Those are just three of the big things that are going to be discussed: the luxury tax and how the spending's being done, because a lot of teams aren't spending the luxury tax in the way it's meant to be spent. So that's another thing that's going to come up. The players are definitely hard against not having a salary cap, and that's where the biggest part of the headbutting is going to be. And I actually wrote an article. It's a 2-part series that you want to look at on the BaltimoreBattery.com. Check it out, because it explains, one, where baseball has come from and gotten to. And this season, you actually are going to see how baseball has expanded its heights globally. WBC is coming up. It starts March 5th. You have exhibition games on March 3rd and 4th against some of the baseball teams in spring training. So March 5th starts the WBC, which is one of the biggest events that baseball holds now. It's become a global phenomenon. It's an exciting phenomenon. Some of the great you had, the last WBC ended with Shohei Ohtani striking out Mike Trout, teammates. You have Adam Jones with one of the greatest catches, robbing Manny Machado at the time when they were teammates, of a home run that would have advanced Manny Machado's team over the U.S. There's so many exciting moments that have happened over the last few World Baseball Classics that it's become a must-see event. And the year that the WBC is happening is the same year that the CBA is going to expire. So you have all these wonderful things that are happening at the same time that baseball might not come back next year. And then you get your executive baseball director resigning at the same time. So it kind of is disturbing, scary, and worrisome. So you need to go to BaltimoreBattery.com and check it out. Part 1 explains where baseball was and came to from the last work stoppage. And then part 2 goes into what might cause the next work stoppage. And honestly, now with Tony Clark resigning, it opens the door for a possible part 3 to that series, because it puts the MLBPA into a situation now of upheaval, especially with the Eastern District of New York investigating for misappropriation of funds. So be on the lookout. I might actually have to do a part 3 for that series, because it does open that door. You also want to check out the BaltimoreBattery.com. I've been doing a daily recap of what's been going on in spring training in Sarasota. Jared has released quite a few articles. One of the fun articles has been about who should get the opening day nod between Kyle Bradish and Trevor Rogers. You got Zach, who's been releasing articles based on, top 5 prospects, top 5 questions going into spring training. You have Thursday Thoughts from Justin. There's just quite a bit that you want to go check out at the BaltimoreBattery.com. Even though baseball season is just starting, we have kept busy over the winter. And I promise you there's some fun articles that you definitely want to dive into. So head over to the BaltimoreBattery.com and check it out. Remember, without the BaltimoreBattery.com, I wouldn't be here. The Final Strike would not be in season 4 without you and the BaltimoreBattery.com. So I want to give a big shout out and thank you all. Don't forget to follow me on X and formerly Twitter, and TikTok at SRJ Heckman. YouTube, you can find me at SRJ Heckman as well. Instagram, I don't do much on Instagram as before, but I am there as well. Don't forget to follow the Baltimore Battery on TikTok and X, formerly Twitter, at DBMoreBattery. Also want to give a big shout out to Advanced Mobility Solution, formerly Scooters for Rent. If you're ever in the Delaware, Maryland, Eastern Shore area and you're looking for mobility products, that ranges from mobility scooters into wheelchairs, electric, manual, and beach wheelchairs. Also lift recliners. Give them a call. Tell them Stephen from the Final Strike sent you. You can reach them at 302-280-6203. And until next time, Birdland, remember, keep that beer cold. Don't forget to check out the BaltimoreBattery.com. Leave your comments. Let me know what you want to discuss next time. We're going to be having Zach on here pretty soon, because we're going to have the new top 30 prospect list, and we're going to want to discuss that. Also be on the lookout, because once the spring training notes end and the expedition games begin, be on the lookout for our spring training Q&A heading into the season. The Battery Q&A, we put that out where I answer your questions. So be on the lookout for that so you can see if your question makes the article. Until next time, Birdland, keep that beer cold. Peace out. We'll see you then.